In abandoned room, Trinity is sitting at a computer telling someone that they found the one. However, she discovers her call is being traced and hangs up. Suddenly, a bunch of cops bursts in and try to arrest her while outside a mysterious group of agents arrives led by Smith. They scold the lieutenant for not waiting for them and go inside too. In the room, Trinity begins beating up the officers, showing off moves like a special jump and walking on walls. A phone call warns her the agents are coming, so she starts running, making it to the roof while the agents and more cops chase after her. As she dodges some bullets, Trinity makes a big jump to reach another building and the agents do the same to the cops' shock. Then she jumps again to go right through a window and roll downstairs, getting ready to shoot. When nobody follows her, Trinity rushes outside and hears a paid phone ringing. Smith appears in a truck and speeds up. However, Trinity reaches the phone just in time and disappears before the truck crashes against the booth. Smith discusses with other agents that at least they found the informant, whose name is Neo. Meanwhile, a man known for his hacker named Neo wakes up to messages flashing across his computer screen. They say the Matrix has him and ask him to follow the white rabbit before ending with the words knock knock. Suddenly someone knocks on his door. It's a group of clients wanting to buy illegal software. Neo does the sale while noticing the messages have disappeared from the screen. The clients invite Neo to a club and at first he wants to refuse, but he agrees when he notices one of them has a tattoo of a white rabbit. Later at the club, Neo is approached by Trinity, who confirms she sent the messages. She also says she knows all about him, like the fact he's looking for the Matrix, and warns him that he's in danger. Suddenly, Neo wakes up in his bed and realizes he's late for work. At the office, a mailman brings Neo a phone that immediately rings. A man called Morpheus tells Neo that agents are after him at the same time Smith and his men appear. Neo starts sneaking around by following Morpheus' directions, which are creepily accurate as if he could see it all. Eventually, Neo goes into another office and climbs out the window to reach a scaffolding, accidentally dropping the phone in the process. However, he gets too scared and the agents end up arresting him, which is seen by Trinity nearby. In the interrogation room, Smith tells Neo the authorities know about his illegal hacking hobby but offers to clean his file to start over if Neo takes them to Morpheus, who they call a terrorist. Neo gives Smith the finger and asks for his rights, so Smith shuts him up by magically sealing his mouth. While Neo freaks out, the agents push him on the table and Smith inserts a weird metallic insect into his body through his belly button. Then Neo wakes up at home again as his phone rings. It's Morpheus, who explains that Neo is the one he's been searching for all his life and asks for a meeting. Minutes later, Trinity and her friends pick Neo up under a bridge. A gun is immediately aimed at him for security reasons and Neo considers leaving. However, he chooses to stay to get answers. Trinity pulls out a machine and connects to Neo's stomach to forcefully remove the mechanical bug, which she throws out the window. Afterward, they go to an old abandoned building where Neo finally meets Morpheus, who understands that Neo has always felt there's something wrong with the world. He explains the Matrix is all around them and that humans are its slaves. Then Morpheus presents two pills. If Neo takes the blue one, he'll wake up again at home and remember nothing. If he chooses the red pill, Morpheus will allow him to see the truth. Neo chooses the red pill and is taken to another room, where Morpheus' team has a computer set up ready. As Neo is connected to the machines, he notices a mirror becoming liquid. He touches it and the silver starts covering his body, causing him to freak out. The team activates the software and suddenly the world vanishes. Then Neo wakes up floating in a vat of red liquid with no hair and plugs connected to his body. He bursts out of it and removes the plug in his mouth before notices millions of vats around him also holding humans. At that moment, a drone appears and grabs him to insert something in his neck. Next, all the plugs are disconnected and the liquid drains from the vat, pushing Neo through the pipes and dropping him into a pit of water. A spaceship drops a claw and picks him up to save him. Morpheus welcomes Neo to the real world and he's taken to the infirmary for rehabilitation, which takes a while. His muscles have atrophied and his eyes hurt because he never actually used them. Once Neo is feeling better, he wakes up and discovers he still has all the plug holes in his body. Morpheus explains that Neo thinks it's 1999, but it's actually closer to 2199. Then he gives Neo a tour of the ship and introduces him to the crew. Neo is sat on a chair and a spike is pushed into the hole in his neck, which makes him appear inside the ship's computer program looking like he used to. Morpheus is also there and finally explains everything while making it appear on a screen and around them. Years ago, humans developed artificial intelligence but lost control of it and a war began. Humans chose to block out the sun since the robots needed solar power to work. However, the AI adapted and started harvesting humans as its new source of energy. The real world is absolutely destroyed and the Matrix is a simulation the AI runs to keep the humans in the vats producing energy. Basically, humans are grown by the AI-controlled robots and used as batteries. Neo refuses to believe it and freaks up before reappearing on the chair, quickly disconnecting the plug before puking and passing out. Later, when Neo wakes up, Morpheus tells him he can't go back and that usually they don't free minds after a certain age. He had to do it to Neo because he thinks he's the one from the prophecy. Many years ago, a man was born into the Matrix with the power to change anything in it and he started to free humans. After his death, an oracle prophesied he would reincarnate and Morpheus thinks Neo is that man. The next morning, Operator Tank checks on Neo, who notices he has no holes in his body. Tank explains he was born in Zion, the only city of free humans in the real world hiding near the Earth's core. Then Tank connects Neo to the computer system again and downloads programs right into his brain, allowing Neo to instantly learn all kinds of martial arts in seconds. For the next 10 hours, Neo keeps absorbing knowledge, which is a new record. Noticing this, Morpheus decides to test him. They appear in a room that simulates the Matrix, and Morpheus reminds Neo there are no rules in a simulation. They start fighting, and Neo is very good at keeping up with Morpheus, which surprises the crew watching them on the screen. However, Morpheus is still better, and after exchanging lots of moves, he defeats Neo by kicking him against a wood beam. Neo says Morpheus is too fast, but Morpheus reminds him he's still thinking about physical limitations when actually they don't have bodies at all inside a software. They start fighting again, and Morpheus corners Neo once more, but after they keep going, Neo finally adapts and corners Morpheus instead. Next, they change the simulation to appear on top of a building, where Morpheus reminds Neo to free his mind. Then he runs and makes an impossible jump from one building to another. Neo tries doing the same, but unfortunately he falls on the ground, which sucks him before dropping him. The crew is disappointed, but they also try to remind themselves that nobody has ever been successful on the first jump. When Neo wakes up in the chair, he notices his mouth is bleeding. Morpheus explains the simulation isn't real, but their minds see it as so, which means that if they die in the Matrix, they also die in the real world. Sometime later, Morpheus takes Neo into another training simulation. They're in a crowded city, and Neo is distracted by a beautiful woman. However, when he turns around, she's become an agent. Morpheus explains that the agents work as a part of the Matrix and can immediately transform themselves into anyone in it, meaning any innocent-looking person can potentially be an enemy. No human has ever defeated an agent. At that moment, Morpheus receives a warning from the crew, so the duo returns to the real world. It turns out that killing robotic sentinels are chasing after their ship, thanks to their ability to detect the electricity expended by humans. The ship flies as fast as possible and hides in an abandoned sewer, where they turn off all their power. When a sentinel comes close, it looks around but doesn't sense them, and luckily it leaves. Neo still learns that if needed, the ship can activate a high-voltage electromagnetic pulse, or EMP, which shuts down anything using electromagnets in a certain radius. It takes a long time to recharge, so it can only be used once at a time. Later, Neo finds Cypher at the operator chair, startling him. Cypher shares a drink and admits that sometimes he wishes he had taken the other pill. After Neo leaves, Cypher secretly enters the Matrix and dines with Smith to make a deal. The Matrix will give Cypher a new, very successful life, and in return Cypher will hand them Morpheus so they can finally destroy Zion. Back on the ship, Morpheus announces they'll be entering the Matrix so Neo can meet the Oracle. The team sits on the chairs, and Tank connects them to the Matrix by making them appear through a hacked phone call. While nobody is looking, Cypher drops a cell phone in a trash can. They make it to an old building, and in the elevator, Morpheus explains the Oracle has been with them since the beginning of the Resistance and that she isn't right or wrong. She tells them what they need to hear. In Morpheus' case, he was told he would find the one. When they enter an apartment, Neo sees a bunch of kids moving objects with psychic powers. A boy even bends a spoon and tells Neo there are no powers involved, there simply is no spoon. Neo concentrates and bends it as well before he's taken to see the Oracle. She appears to be a simple grandma baking cookies, but she predicts Neo accidentally breaking a vase before it happens. The Oracle tells Neo that being the one is something he must feel before taking a close look at his body, telling him he isn't the one. However, she does give him a warning. Soon he'll have to choose between his own life and Morpheus's life. On their way out, Neo wants to share what the Oracle said, but Morpheus tells him to keep it to himself. The team returns to the old house, and Neo notices a black cat walking by, only for it to reappear at the same spot. He calls it deja vu, and everyone freezes because a deja vu is a glitch happening in the Matrix when they change something. At the same time, someone is cutting the phone cables in the house, and all the exits are covered by brick walls. Cops soon enter the house, and one of the team members tries opening fire, but he's shot down in seconds and he dies in the real world too. The others run upstairs while Morpheus calls Tank, who searches the structural drawings of the building and guides them through a hole to hide inside the walls. Any move they make is being tracked by Smith and the agents, who came with the cops. As the group climbs down the narrow passage, Dist falls on Cypher and causes him to sneeze. The cops start firing at the wall, and Neo fires back, but nobody gets hurt. Suddenly, an officer yells in pain as Smith takes over his body. Then he reaches through the wall to grab Neo. Desperate to save him, Morpheus jumps through the wall and tackles Smith down, giving the others the chance to escape. The team drops and lands on the basement, where a gunfight ensues against the cops. Smoke grenades are thrown and the group escapes through a hatch in the ground, although Cypher moves slower behind. Upstairs, Morpheus starts fighting Smith and tries his best, but no matter what moves he pulls, Smith easily counters him and eventually defeats him without much trouble. Then the cops beat up and arrest Morpheus. Meanwhile, the team comes out on the streets through a manhole. However, Cypher has used a different route. Now he's using a paid phone to call Tank and pretends he was left behind by a car accident he actually caused. Tank gives him an address with an exit, and when Trinity calls him too, he sends the group to the same place. Minutes later, Cypher enters a building with a ringing phone and returns first to the ship. Then he grabs a weapon and quickly shoots down Tank and another crew member before taking control of the board. When the group finally finds the phone, it stopped ringing. Then Trinity calls the ship again and Cypher picks up while creeping over her sleeping body. He admits he's always wanted her and that he's tired of this life before confessing he planned it all. Next, Cypher unplugs the other two crew members, instantly killing them too. When he's about to do Neo, Tank reveals he's still alive and immediately kills Cypher. While Tank brings Neo and Trinity back, Smith and the agents take Morpheus to a skyscraper for interrogation. They inject him with a serum and hook him up to electrodes while Smith first monologues. He explains the first Matrix was a happy utopia, but the humans could tell it wasn't real, so it was redesigned. Morpheus is heard over and over, yet he still refuses to talk. Eventually, Smith sends the other agents away and drops his calmness as he removes his earpiece. He calls humans a virus that devours all resources, but he also admits he hates the Matrix and wants out, for which he needs the codes to access Zion. On the ship, Tank wants to unplug Morpheus to protect Zion. However, Neo remembers what the Oracle said and chooses to save Morpheus, thinking they have a chance because nobody did it before and the agents won't expect them. Trinity wants to come along and Neo tells her he isn't the one, but Trinity refuses to believe it and comes anyway. Then Duo is connected to the system and Tank provides an insane amount of guns. The duo appears in the skyscraper's lobby and the guards check their bags with the scanner, which rings an alarm. A guard asks Neo to remove all metallic items, so Neo just opens his coat and reveals all the guns he's carrying before pushing the guard back. Then Neo opens fire with two guns, killing most of the guards at the same time. One manages to escape and calls for backup before Trinity kills him too. Soon a whole team of soldiers appears and opens fire. Neo always shoots back, only hiding behind columns when he runs out of bullets and grabs more weapons. Meanwhile, Trinity uses all her martial arts expertise to jump around and fight the guards hand to hand, easily knocking them down. Neo does some crazy jumps too while still shooting his weapons, bringing down the last soldier with a kick. Upstairs, the other agents return to the interrogation room and are surprised to see Smith without his earpiece. Because he hasn't been connected, the others have to tell him about the attack. Back to the duo, they get in the elevator only to make it stop after a few floors and Trinity activates a bomb. Then they escape through the ceiling hatch and hold on the cables, which Neo shoots to make the elevator fall. The bomb explodes when it lands on the lobby, causing huge flames and shutting down the building's power while also activating the sprinklers. Neo and Trinity make it to the roof, where more soldiers are waiting for them. While they fight, an agent takes over the helicopter's pilot and comes after them. Neo opens fire on him, however the agent moves too fast for him to do any damage. Then the agent fires back and Neo shocks everyone by dodging the bullets with the same speed an agent would use. Unfortunately, a bullet still wounds his leg and he falls. The agent comes closer to finish him off, leaving an opening for Trinity to shoot him right in the head. As the body falls, it goes back to being the pilot. Afterward, Tank downloads a flying program in Trinity's mind so she can fly the helicopter, which soon appears outside the interrogation room. Neo opens fire at the same time as the agents and destroys the whole room, causing such a tough situation that the agents must leave those bodies behind. Then Neo tells Morpheus to wake up, inspiring him to fight the serum effects and break the handcuffs. Meanwhile, the agents take new bodies in the next room and start shooting through the wall, hitting Morpheus on the leg as he's trying to escape. Realizing Morpheus won't make it, Neo jumps out of the chopper with a rope attached to his body and catches Morpheus in midair, barely managing to grab onto his arm before he falls. As Trinity tries to fly away, Smith returns to the broken window and shoots the helicopter's fuel tank. With enough effort, Trinity guides the chopper toward another building so Neo and Morpheus can land on a roof. Then Neo holds onto the rope and Trinity grabs it to safely jump out of the helicopter right before it crashes against the skyscraper. Everyone thinks this confirms Neo is the one, and when he quotes the Oracle, Morpheus explains she only told him what he needed to hear to keep going. By the time the agents make it to the roof, the trio is gone. Seconds later, the group enters an abandoned subway station, unaware that a hobo is watching them from a corner and the agents can see through him. Tank makes the call and Morpheus leaves first, then Trinity after telling Neo that what the Oracle told her became true. At that moment, the hobo becomes Smith, who shoots the phone after Trinity is gone. Now Neo is stuck and has to fight Smith, starting with gunfire. Both men jump at the same time and meet in the middle, only to admit they're out of bullets. Then they start fighting hand to hand and Neo surprises Smith by keeping up with him, even mocking him with a hand gesture. Unfortunately, Smith keeps finding chances to overpower him, like punching him multiple times against a wall. When he hears the subway coming, Smith throws Neo on the rails and tries holding him there. However, Neo jumps up to crash Smith against the ceiling before dropping him and jumping away. Now the train runs over Smith instead, only for him to reappear by taking over a passenger's body. Neo has no choice but to run. On the ship, the alarm wails announcing incoming sentinels. Morpheus decides to wait until the last second to shoot the EMP so Neo can come back. In the Matrix, Neo steals a phone from a random citizen and calls Tank, who guides him to the nearest exit. Neo runs through a crowd while the agents keep on chasing and shooting him to no avail. Eventually, Neo enters a building through its back door and rushes upstairs, going through the apartments as the agents take over the residents' bodies to keep on attacking him. As Neo escapes through the emergency stairs, the Sentinels reach the ship and start destroying it until they make a hole to come inside. Morpheus still wants to wait while Neo enters another building, but when he's about to reach the phone, he's ambushed by Smith and shot multiple times. Trinity sees Neo's death on the screen and tells him he can't die because the Oracle said she would fall in love with the One. She says she loves Neo and kisses him while the Sentinels keep on causing damage. Trinity's act revives Neo, who has finally accepted his role. Smith and two agents immediately open fire, but Neo only has to raise his hand to stop the bullets. Now he can also see the code that makes the Matrix, and when Smith attacks him, he calmly stops all his attacks with just one arm. Then Neo kicks Smith back before jumping inside his body, painfully rewriting its code until it explodes. The other agents run away in fear and Neo runs to get the phone as the Sentinels finally burst into the cockpit. Morpheus activates the EMP, bringing all the Sentinels down. In the darkness, Trinity looks up and confirms Neo is back, so they share a kiss. Sometime later, Neo is in the Matrix making a phone call to threaten the AI with more rebellion. After hanging up, he leaves by